You didn't come here just to fall in love. You came here to remember love, to unravel the illusions that have kept you from its raw, radiant truth. And so, when your twin flame appears, it's not always with soft music and warm embraces. Sometimes, it's with trembling hands. Sometimes, it's with chaos in their eyes. Sometimes, they arrive just as everything inside you is shattering. And you ask yourself, how can something that feels so divine also feel so devastating? Ah, beloved. That is the paradox of sacred union. Because the twin flame reunion is not a gentle merging. It is a soul quake. A divine fire. A mirror held so close to your face that you can no longer pretend not to see. The pain you feel is not rejection, it is remembrance. It is every buried part of you rising to the surface, aching to be seen before it can be healed. The union doesn't begin with flowers. It begins with fire. And that fire, it is holy. It is the burning away of lifetimes of abandonment, fear, and forgetting. It is the ancient wound reopening so it can finally be cleansed in the presence of the one who was always meant to bear witness to your becoming. You aren't being punished. You are being purified. You've met love before. You've tasted its sweetness and endured its ache. You've whispered your truths into the dark and prayed someone would hold them gently. And for a time, they did. Or at least, they tried. But eventually, the patterns returned, the quiet betrayals, the emotional distance, the subtle self-abandonment you swore you wouldn't repeat. And you began to wonder, why do I keep finding myself here, in the arms of someone who doesn't quite see me? Then your twin flame arrived. And it was unlike anything you had ever known. Because your twin flame does not show up to soothe your wounds. They show up to expose them. They do not praise your mask, they pull it off with bare hands and unwavering eyes. They are not content with your performance of love, they want your truth. Even when it's messy. Even when it's raw. Especially when it's raw. And that's what makes this connection feel so brutal at times. Because it bypasses the superficial. It dives straight into your soul's deepest vaults, places even you have avoided. The pain isn't because something is wrong, it's because something is finally real. And reality, when it strikes the heart of a guarded soul, can feel like breaking. But this isn't punishment. This is transformation. Every time they retreat, and you feel the sting of being left behind, you are being given the chance to face your abandonment wound, not to chase them, but to reclaim yourself. When they question you, when they challenge your beliefs, it's not to dismantle your worth. It's to illuminate the control you've used to keep yourself safe. And when they vanish without warning, they press you into the sacred loneliness that demands you remember your direct connection to the divine, not through them, but within yourself. In this way, your twin flame becomes the mirror that doesn't flinch. They hold steady while your shadows scream. They reflect your light and your pain, not to harm you, but to awaken you. Because love, real love, cannot live in hiding. It can only live in truth. And that's what this connection asks of you, full presence. Radical authenticity. Courage to feel, to grieve, to stand naked before the mirror of your own becoming. It's terrifying. And it's holy. Because once you see yourself this clearly, there's no going back to sleep. And though it hurts, it is, undeniably, the beginning of your liberation. It's one of the most heart-wrenching parts of the twin flame journey, the separation. That unbearable stretch of silence. The ache of absence. The haunting feeling that something so powerful, so destined, should not be this hard. You find yourself asking again and again, if we are two halves of one soul, why does the universe keep tearing us apart? But the answer, beloved, is not cruelty, it is consecration. Because separation is not the abandonment of the path. It is the path. You see, when your soul chose this journey, it did not choose comfort. It chose truth. And the truth is, no matter how deeply intertwined you are with your twin flame, you cannot merge with them from a place of longing, lack, or dependency. The universe will not support a union built on the illusion that they are your source of wholeness. That illusion must burn away. And the fire that does the burning is separation. It feels like death because something is dying, the version of you who believed you were incomplete without them. The version who thought love meant possession, or proximity, or validation. But in their physical absence, what remains is the part of you that can no longer outsource love. The part that must go inward. Deeper. Into the caverns of your own divinity. It is here, in this space of aching, that your true healing begins. You start to hear your own soul speak more clearly. You stop checking their energy and start tending to your own. You stop waiting for a sign from them and begin becoming a sign for yourself. The more you choose presence over pining, the more the alchemy unfolds. You begin to remember that reunion is not a date on the calendar, it's a vibration within your body. A frequency of self-resonance that calls the entire universe into harmony around you. And when you reach that state, not because you forced it, but because you surrendered to it, you become magnetic. Not just to your twin, but to life itself. You become union, not through their return, but through your own reclamation. This separation is not exile. It is initiation. It is the space where you meet the most important person in this journey, you. The version of you who no longer begs to be seen because she has finally seen herself. The version who no longer clings, because she has become what she once craved. And that, beloved, is the miracle buried inside the wound. The sacred truth hidden in the ache. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. There comes a moment on this path where something within you snaps, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in sacred defiance. A quiet, resounding no to the version of yourself who has been dimming her light to make others comfortable. A sacred revolt against every time you were told that love meant self-sacrifice, that femininity meant silence, that power meant hardness or control. And in that moment, you rise, not in violence, but in truth. Not in ego, but in essence. This is the fire of the divine feminine. She is not only the soft touch that soothes. She is also the wild wind that strips away illusion. She is not always tender. Sometimes she roars. Sometimes she burns everything you once thought was you, so you can meet the you who was buried underneath the conditioning, the pain, and the patterns. And you, beloved, are walking straight through her flames. What feels like destruction is actually a return. A remembering. Each heartbreak, each tear, each moment of silence between you and your twin flame becomes part of your rebirth. You are not breaking down, you are breaking open. You are releasing the false belief that love must be earned, proven, or chased. And in its place, you are stepping into a knowing so ancient, so pure, that your soul cannot help but tremble in reverence. This is your reclamation. You stop making yourself small to be held by someone who still fears the magnitude of your being. You stop performing love as a currency of worth. You remember that your love is not a whisper, it is a force of nature. And those who cannot stand in the presence of that power are not enemies. They are simply still awakening. And so, you no longer lower your frequency to meet them. You hold your ground. You anchor your light. You become the feast, the fullness, the wholeness, that your soul has always longed to taste. And not just for them, but for you. Because you finally understand, the only person who truly needed to choose you, was you. And when that choice becomes embodied, not just as a mantra, but as a lived reality, everything changes. Your energy becomes a beacon, not of desperation, but of divinity. Your presence begins to ripple outward, shifting timelines, activating others, even waking your twin flame from their sleep, not by force, but by frequency. You become the storm and the stillness, the flame and the hearth, the fierce, fiery embodiment of the divine feminine, unapologetic, untamed, and utterly unforgettable. And from this place of power, your entire journey transforms. Not because you chased reunion, but because you became it. Healing on the twin flame journey is not linear. It is circular, spiral-like, pulling you deeper with each return to your center. And yet, it's not only your center you're returning to, it's theirs as well. Because even when your twin flame is not physically near, they are energetically intertwined with you in ways the mind cannot fully comprehend but the soul always recognizes. This is not an ordinary bond. This is resonance. And in that resonance, healing becomes a shared frequency, transmitted through timelines, echoed through dreams, mirrored in emotions that rise without explanation. What you feel, they feel. What you release, they are invited to release. When you rise from the ashes of your pain with open arms and a softened heart, you become a living transmission of healing, and whether they are conscious of it or not, your twin receives that signal. But it's not about healing for the purpose of reunion. It's deeper than that. You don't do this work to bring them back. You do it because you remember who you are. And in remembering that, you return to your truth, not as an act of pursuit, but as an act of homecoming. The version of you that once longed for validation from their love begins to dissolve. In her place, rises a version that is love. Not as a performance. Not as a role. But as a natural state of being. Your essence becomes light-filled, unshakable, magnetic. And in your very being, you hold space, not only for your own wholeness, but for theirs too. And should you meet again, whether in this lifetime, the next, or somewhere in the liminal space between, it will not be the same reunion you once imagined. Because you are no longer seeking completion. You are already complete. The love you offer will no longer be laced with fear or expectation. It will be pure, liberating, a sanctuary rather than a request. And in that sanctuary, your twin flame will see themselves, not through the lens of their wounds, but through the light of their own divine reflection, awakened by your grace. That is the healing that changes everything. Not the healing that fixes, but the healing that remembers. That returns both of you, not to each other first, but to yourselves. And when that happens, love becomes inevitable. Not because you chased it, but because you became it. There comes a moment in this journey when you stop trying to control it, fix it, or understand every twist of it, and instead, you surrender to it. Not because you've given up, but because you've grown wise enough to trust what your soul has always known, that this unfolding is sacred, even when it hurts. And so I invite you now, wherever you are in your journey, to soften. Not in weakness, but in reverence. To breathe deeply. To bring your hands to your heart. To feel the quiet thrum of life pulsing beneath your ribs. That rhythm is not just yours. It is the echo of every lifetime where you searched, every prayer you whispered, every promise your soul made long before this body was born. You are not broken. You are blooming. Everything that has fallen away, the beliefs, the attachments, the identities, you were never meant to carry those into reunion. They were heavy with fear. But now, you are becoming weightless, spacious, available to something far more honest than illusion, far more intimate than longing. The pain you feel now is not failure, it is preparation. It is the final contraction before birth. The holy ache before you rise, not only into the memory of your twin flame, but into the remembrance of yourself, your divinity, your radiance, your truth. And when you rise from that place, not desperate, but deeply rooted, you become something more than a seeker. You become a vessel. A living current through which love moves freely, without agenda or condition. You become the living evidence that love does not require possession to be real. It only requires presence. So let the magic work through you. Let the grief carve new space inside your spirit. Let the love that never left find a home in your breath, your hands, your words. Because this journey was never just about reunion. It was about resurrection. And now, beloved, it is your time to rise. Not for them. For you. And in that rising, everything changes. Forever.